I think my new favorite thing is going to be seeing guests react to the intro song.
Yes, this is amazing.
Well, don't be too positive about it, Timmy. Don't expect too much. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Drawing Hive. If you're here to draw, you're in the right place. We're going to have a really fun night tonight. Just remember, this is brought to you by Visual Arts Passage. And Visual Arts Passage is an educational, we offer an online mentorship programs. We offer all kinds of resources to help you build careers in illustration and painting. And you're going to see a new face tonight. Miriam Martincic is, excuse me, I want to make that correct. Miriam Martincic is here with us tonight. And I'm really excited about it because I've gotten to know Miriam pretty well over the last few years and just amazing success. But we'll get back to that in just a second. I want to start with what we're drawing tonight, and I can show you a beautiful piece of Miriam's. I love this illustration.
You too.
Good versus bad. Was that correct? Yeah.
That's right. This
Great.
is a Sujan Bozelli prompt.
Yeah, great way to solve a problem. But we're drawing dogs tonight, and we got some really interesting photography. One of the things I do have in common, besides trying to make artwork like Miriam does, is that Miriam and Cassandra and Timmy and I, we all dog lovers. And a big body of work of Miriam's was wrapped around influence, inspired by dogs. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit, but here's our reference for tonight. Again, we do 2 20-minute poses and then a 40-minute pose following it. And you can see Henry and is it Una? Is that how that's pronounced?
Yeah, well, this one, I didn't label them all. So
Well, I put, all I could identify was Henry and Una and friends.
You're correct. You got it. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. And I can tell you which Henry's on the far right, Una's second from the left, right?
Right.
Okay. And then next to that is Hula, which is Timmy's dog. And Timmy's got so many dogs that I didn't even recognize it as Timmy's dog when we were talking about it. And then bottom left is Sammy Joe. And I'm just guessing that that's probably very common for Sammy Joe to walk around the house that way.
The 2 little girls, definitely.
Yeah. And then the last one at the end is the dog genius is Finn. And
dog genius.
That's what I like to call him, dog genius.
He's a real deep thinker.
He's a deep thinker. There's irony when I say that.
Yeah, I've met Finn.
It's a total goofball.
I really want to know more.
But he is the happiest dog I've ever been around. I've never seen a dog so happy. He walks around with a stick in his mouth, just like he prances all the time. Just so happy.
Yeah.
All right.
John, look at your dog and then look at my dog, and that's how dogs, you become your dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So following this up, I want to, Miriam, I love this photograph. I know you posted it. I don't want to embarrass you, but you're collecting these things. This is Miriam after the Society of Illustrators show I believe this year.
This year.
And this is her 3rd gold medal. And I think, is it in 3 years or 4 years? I mean, you're
4 years.
Okay. So you had a bad year. You didn't win one.
It's a terrible year. Nothing good
terrible.
happened.
Totally off year.
So was it just silver instead?
Yeah. Well, the Society of Illustrators has been curating and organizing an organization wrapped around American illustration since 1901. And when I started out in the industry, it was really the only game. And now there's others. There's American Illustration. There's other awards books, 3x3, obviously Communication Arts. But I always lean back at the Society of Illustrators as being the one. And they only give 6 of those gold medals out each year. And so how impressive is that? You're a rock star. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for being here.
Real
Thank you
quick
for
here.
doing so well.
This is a selfie I took in the College of Design where I teach.
Great.
Oh,
So
awesome.
So that's the atrium.
Awesome. It's beautiful
nice.
space. I was kind of wondering who that was. So I got a few images, and this is I love this parody of dogs in art history, and obviously American Gothic here. I love that this is stuff that, again, I'm going to show your website at the end, but this stuff just kills me. I love it. Absolutely love it. And so it's like doing a parody with the dog with a David Hockney painting. I mean, you really got
Yes.
to think about it.
Well, did you know David Hockney did a whole book of paintings and drawings of his dachshunds? He had
No
two
way.
at one point.
Really?
Yep. Perfect. Frida, just fantastic stuff. And then I saw this like when you were a student, and this kind of wordplay with space and kind of the human dog relationship that you created. And this is so smart. A is for across, B is for between, C is for connect. Just the words, the language in it is just so smart. And I love the imagery. And this is the name of it, right? D is for distance. Absolutely love this series. And then just some really, really great visuals, some problem solving. Would you say you primarily work in the editorial world?
Yep.
And I actually have a shot of you holding up your most recent, another gold medal here, I believe, right?
Mhm.
I actually think this was done in Edward's class, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was my first gold.
Yep.
Yeah.
In our school. I love it.
Nice.
One of the things, Timmy's gonna love this too. Miriam, this is right off of your website. She creates emotionally resonant, impeccably designed editorial illustrations, patterns, and lettering. Clients include Harper, Scientific America, and the New York Times. You studied, this is my favorite part. You studied at Columbus College of Art and Design, Ohio University, and Visual Arts Passage with a
Yes.
link to our website.
Yeah, we
So
get the
thank
link.
you so
We
much.
get the link.
You're welcome. So I can make a plug for you guys. I think if anybody, if you can go back to the other piece, you know, the advice sometimes if you're doing something like quitting smoking, they'll say, I know David Sedaris to quit smoking. He went to Japan and just lived there for a few months. Like you disrupt your normal structures or your normal patterns. And I feel like that's part of how I used Visual Arts Passage. I actually was between or working with multiple styles, and I was just kind of on the cusp of kind of really committing to this work. And, you know, I feel like the program was definitely influential in my making that decision. So I just feel like it can help you if you're out there wondering, just not sure what you want to do next. I highly recommend it.
Well, thank you very much. I
That's
appreciate
awesome.
the plug.
Thank you.
And just more great work. And then this is just out right now, correct?
Yeah, that was like last week, right? Or
And it's there's like a whole series inside too.
Yep.
So congratulations with your success. Thank you for being here tonight. And we're gonna draw for a while now. So it's time to
All
draw.
right. Yeah, it's
I'm
time
gonna
to
come
draw.
back with an educational thing in a little bit. And it's wrapped around, I was thinking about Miriam, about something I'm going to talk about tonight.
All right. So people, please let me get rid of this. Please share your work with us tonight. If this is your first time drawing with us, please draw along. I'll drop a link to the photo reference in the chat. Grab the images that we're working with tonight. You're drawing our dogs, and we love checking out the artwork. At the end of the night, we will share all of it on Instagram. So please share your work throughout the night, and we will stream it on the show. The hashtag is for tonight is hashtag Drawing Hive, @Visual Arts Passage, and hashtag K9 Hive.
That's
So K9
That's good.
Hive. That's tonight's
good.
tag. You got it. You got to get that one right, Miriam. Don't worry about it. We'll see
All
it.
right.
It's too much to ask a guest
All
to do
right.
all of it. But all right. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and yeah, sweet.
So question, do we like, is there one in particular we start with,
You
or
can,
you just
Draw
pick
your
whatever
heart
you
out.
want?
Yeah, follow your heart.
All right.
The other thing
You
I was
know
gonna
what I'm
say,
gonna
Miriam.
choose. You know what I'm gonna choose.
Sammy
Uh,
Joe, right? Of course.
Correct.
Are we all auditioning? We're all auditioning our dogs. David Sedaris's other thing on smoking was it was a I thought it was a dicey one, but very funny. Was he thought that you have to enlist a new smoker to replace you?
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's like the equivalent of the earworm,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He goes, it's the only way you have to. And I met him at Rainy Day Books in Kansas City in like 2008. And he gave me and this girl a pack of cigarettes. I thought it was so funny.
Oh my gosh, that is funny.
he is a
Yeah.
funny dude.
He's for a time he was maybe one of my favorite authors. So Miriam, maybe we start. Do you mind if I talk to you while you're drawing a bit? I know
Yeah,
that's part of the show, but it's a
that
tough part.
works.
When did you first jump into drawing?
Oh gosh, like for normal people, this is interesting, and for all of us, it's the same old story. I was the kid who was just drawing all the time. I just went to
Mhm.
Icon, and like you're special everywhere else in the world, and among illustrators and artists, this is just what's normal to draw all the time, you know?
Mhm.
So I don't remember this. Actually, I do. I think that our house got struck by lightning, which wasn't like catastrophic, but it killed our TV. And our parents noticed that in the absence of TV, that we did other stuff, and they thought that was good. And the thing I was doing was drawing a lot, so that we just didn't have TV. So I'm sure I think I was already had a tendency towards drawing, but the
Really?
fact that I didn't have sort of an easy entertainment source, was going to
So
be,
did they really? They were like, TV's gone. They
yeah, we
just
just didn't have TV for a while.
That's
And
cool.
I feel like my relationship to TV is kind of I'd say I have poor commitment to television. It's very
Okay.
un-American of me. I'm like, I just can't follow through with the shows. There's great stuff out there, by the way. I mean,
Right.
especially series television, really impressive
Mhm.
writing and acting. But yeah, I have lots of other things I like doing, so that doesn't come first.
I just want to remind everybody. So if you check the chat, you can find the tags for tonight and also the photo reference.
I have a
That's
question for you,
interesting.
Miriam. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Timmy.
I was just gonna say I grew up like having a pretty healthy relationship with TV, but then once I hit high school, it was like, I mean, hit the ground running. And it's so interesting meeting, because what years was that like you got into drawing instead of maybe like watching,
Oh gosh, it would be
just like plugged in?
probably early 80s.
Yeah. So I mean, that's peak MTV. There wasn't like a revolt in your house. That's pretty cool.
I don't remember that there was.
Uh-huh. There would have been a coup in our home.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Miriam, I know that you studied, and part of the reason I do these little educational spots every week. And sometimes I introduce artists, and I'm not going to say who it is yet, but it's a sculptor. And I know you studied sculpture.
Uh-huh.
And I think it has a huge influence on the way that you draw.
Right.
And maybe you could talk about that for a little bit.
Well, I think that the whole point of doing this type of drawing, this representational drawing, is to build a visual library in your head. But I think drawing is obviously not the only way you can do it. Sculpture is a really strong way to understand volume. And I feel like, you know, we've talked about this before, that, you know, drawing from imagination, the more you do it, the more you show up in your pictures. And I feel like experience drawing combined with understanding of volume gives me the ability to draw from memory.
I totally agree with that, and I think it's really important. Different, you know, there's just different times you different types of drawing you do at different times during process or just in development. And again, that drawing from memory thing is the thing that I think helps develop voice more than anything. And you know, it's learning how to library yourself. And I think that's where voice lives, and that's, you know, people's personal experiences with art. Everybody's got a different take on things, you know, from what they've done or what they experienced. So I know that you, like most of your illustrations that you're doing, you're not referencing them. You are drawing from them.
That's right. I have to be really careful of when I choose to use reference. You know, I have to be, that's part of the discipline of the work. Like drawing digitally actually takes discipline, because you have to create all of your structures or restrictions. Like media actually imposes restrictions on you that can make your work better. And digital art, you know, you can just zoom and zoom and zoom, and you can do lots of things that are most often make your work really bad. But anyway, like one of my disciplines is like, I just have to, I don't let myself go to reference too quickly. I have to learn to trust myself more, and to trust that those things, those mistakes that you make are part of what makes it you.
Well said.
Really good point. Yeah.
Hey Miriam, could you
Yeah.
share your screen? We'd love to see what you're doing.
Sure. All right, let's go to. All right, so I'm on my iPad, and I don't actually draw representationally that much because it's kind of not my voice. So right now, what I've decided to do, I chose this drawing here just to do a negative space drawing. So I created just a dark background, and I'm just using a brush, a really big fat brush to, let me cancel that, open a new layer. Using just a big fat brush, just the same way that I would when I draw, or just general to specific, to kind of literally carve out the doggos. So thing that I'm interested in this photo is I really like all those shadows. And so I think I know I'm going to want to add some of those. The dogs may just be pretty cool as flat silhouettes.
Wow.
That's really interesting. Everybody take a look at what Cassandra's doing.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
A little dark, but I've just put the silhouettes in just like you.
Uh-huh.
She's doing the positive version, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally.
Nice.
Miriam, if you're up for it, you can keep sharing it. It'd be kind of, I would love to see you continue to work on that. But no,
All
no
right.
pressure.
All
No
right.
pressure.
I can do that. If that's what y'all want, I'm here for you.
We love seeing it.
Okay. Just a second. Let me share.
Our guests, they see our faces and are
Mhm.
it's always exciting to see a new person on the panel. So
Yeah, not that we would ever get sick of Cassandra watching
Yeah.
Cassandra make art, but it's so nice to see somebody new make art.
I want to see Miriam work. I'm really excited.
So do you have are you picky about brush packs or anything like that?
You know, for my own work, I For my own work, I do like the True Grit Art Supply, graphite brushes and some of those textured brushes. I think that, yeah, they do a great job. It was pretty awesome. I met that guy at Icon. I think his name's Andrew. And I showed him a brush that I used a long time ago, a digital brush. And I said, can you make something like this? And he said, yes. So he hasn't sent it yet, but he's going to make me a brush,
Oh, really?
which is pretty cool.
We were all pretty excited. We had a breaking news episode of Drawing Hive when Kyle Webster went over to move to Procreate. And
Oh,
Kyle Webster's like the godfather of
for
digital
sure.
brushes.
Yeah, of brushes.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. How long have you been working? When you moved to digital, did you start in Procreate or were you in Photoshop for quite a
You know,
while?
I started, and I can open this up right now because I think people would be interested in it. I started in a program called Paper. And you can see that in Paper, I have a whole bunch of different sketchbooks. I literally laid out books. Like this was a book I was working on. And you can see that like there's
Oh,
all of
wow.
these pages, but that I can view it either as pages or like as individual things, but it also lets you look at it in like book format.
That's amazing.
And this program has only, let me, what's this one? Okay, I'll find something, a random sketchbook to draw in. But I want to show you one of the brushes that I like. So this
Really beautiful
program,
app.
you can't choose the size. And in some ways, I feel like one of the best things about if you are going to start working digital, or even if you already do, if you're getting in this place, I call it maybe the paralysis of options. If you find that happening to yourself, you need to have fewer options. And so starting with, as a person, this happens more and more to people who, like me, are controllers. I am a controller, so I have to watch myself. But here, I don't get to choose what size brushes. I just choose what brush. I don't get to have multiple layers. There's some fun tools where I can, cut and move things. And this is the brush that I showed Andrew at True Grit. I have never found another brush. Isn't that great? I love
Wow.
That's lovely.
I love the fact that it's hard on one side and soft on the other.
Wow.
So I'm holding my pencil at an angle on the paper or on my iPad screen, and it's behaving like a pencil would. So this is what I asked Andrew at True Grit to make for me, because how I accomplish pencil. Go ahead, Cassandra, what were you going to say?
Oh, it just feels like watercolor meets charcoal the way that that's reacting.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a great basic app. And I drew in this for years before I moved to Procreate.
Wow.
And again, I ultimately stopped working in it because people were wanting prints, and I was only producing things that could be like printed at like maybe 4x6 or 6x8,
Okay.
But yeah,
Right.
that's where I started before I moved to Procreate.
So
And
never spent any time in Photoshop
as a
for
graphic
illustration.
designer, I have
Okay.
spent tons of time in Photoshop.
But not as an illustrator.
Right. So I feel like to make my work with negative space more apparent, I'm changing my background color here. It's just easier to
Wow.
see that that's how I'm
Mhm.
thinking.
John, Cassandra, what materials are you all working with tonight? And by the way, for anybody wondering, you are totally able to, in the middle of the screen or between the screen share and the gallery of webcams, there's a little white toggle, and you can grab onto it and you can make the videos larger, or you can make the screen share larger. You can like share the space. So just a heads up if you want to check out, different art. But what's John, what are you working in tonight?
right now, I'm working on a masonite panel, painted with a mid-tone acrylic.
Mhm.
And I did a pencil drawing underneath, and I am blocking my painting in with acrylic right now. And then I'm going to put once I get this black in, I'm gonna put a glaze over it, and then I'm gonna paint it in oil. I'll transfer to oil once I kind of establish my picture here in acrylic.
Mhm. Cassandra, is this a typical night for you material wise?
Yep, yep. This is cardboard that has GAC 100 on it, and I'm doing acrylic paint on top.
There was a question for you, Miriam, from earlier when you were talking. Someone asked, what is it when you said only representational?
Oh, when did I say that?
Um, I think when you mentioned your the subject you chose, which was, well, I guess anybody could answer it though. Like, what is when you talk about representational art? Maybe just
Oh,
seems like
well, I
pretty
mean,
simple.
that it looks,
Yeah.
this is it looks like an
Yeah.
identifiable thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, people, please ask questions. We've got some
But
serious
if that
talent in the
was,
room.
yeah, not an understand, if I'm not understanding the question clearly, please ask again.
No, you totally answered it. We have, people of all skill levels here, and
Mhm.
it's always great to say that. I love this. Someone said, I tell my students to draw a dog when they're not sure what to draw. It's a good
That's
one.
awesome.
I went to I was on vacation with good friends and my wife, and we were staying at my friend's parents' home, who happened to show up. It was in La Jolla, California, and they wanted to take us out to one of those events where you paint, like you have like a painting party, and of course, all the pressure was on me.
Oh
Uh-huh.
gosh.
Like a wine, like where you have
Yeah,
like
and
a
this,
glass of wine and
yeah,
yeah,
and you paint, and basically you're painting on plates and stuff, and then they
yeah.
fire it for you, and you can take the plate home. And so all the purchase on it, this is actually a family that's bought a few of my original pieces too. So I get there,
Oh, no
and
pressure.
yeah, and I can't think of anything to do, so I paint my dog.
That's awesome.
I thought
And
they
now it's like
usually,
a plate.
Yeah, on the
that's
plate.
pretty funny.
I had an Airedale at the time, so I did my Airedale on the dog, on the plate. It came out pretty well.
Well,
I didn't
and
embarrass myself.
that's awesome. Speaking of pressure, I did a workshop with Cyrus Highsmith, who's a typographer, and how he started us drawing, because he actually does some illustration, is that we took pop cans and folded them in half and made really messy calligraphy pens with them, basically that you didn't have control over. We drew with sticks. We drew with all sorts of stuff where you have less control. And then obviously probably some, blank contour line drawing or things like it. And like his point was, it's like, if you kind of lower the stakes, if you're just like, I'm going to draw with tools that are so bad that you're just, I don't know, it helps you relax. And yeah.
Miriam, recently I've been drawing with like oil pastels, Sennelier oil pastels, and then like obliterating them with terp or the Neocolor watercolor crayons and obliterating them. And it's it's completely different mindset. It's like, I know this is going to be like totally deteriorated, going to disappear, or be, really be wonky. And this is like what I'm doing tonight is kind of like complete opposite. This is like, I'm being very accurate with I'm trying to be very accurate with what I'm doing. But I love that idea of drawing with something you can't control. Even better yet,
So what,
painting something you can't control.
So because this isn't my work where I need to be consistent, I'm realizing that as I started, putting in some light shadows here, you see that my dog here, like on the left, she looks like a pig. So I know that, right? It doesn't look good, but guess what? I'm actually satisfied with this. So I'm going to call this one done. And I'm going to just start a new one, because I oftentimes when, you do something and you like it, and then you don't trust it. So we're going to just say that that's done. And then I'll make another one.
And everybody, I want to say we started a little slower today. So this first pose, we're going to go 5 extra minutes. So you got 5 more minutes and then we're moving on to the next one.
I think he's feeling generous tonight.
I know. I usually never do
I'll
that.
take the Timmy time when I can get it.
As if anyone on the panel follows my rules.
I hope he's thinking about that. I'm drawing his dog.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to
I
draw
know the
his
panel.
dog.
This is for
Please
our
take
this
your
is
time, John, please.
this is for the Hive. Yeah. Oh man. So has anybody had any big projects lately that they've been working on, or any tasks in the studio that you'd want to share? Cassandra, I know you're always working on something wild.
Yeah, I got my opossum painting in the mail to the gallery, so that's
It looks
exciting.
great, by the way.
Thank you.
I saw your post on it. It's beautiful.
I'm gonna have to
I'm
pull it up.
really glad to get that one done. That was one of those pieces that was done in like 3-hour fragments, so I just never quite felt like I was getting things done. So when it actually finished, I was ecstatic. Now I'm working on a painting for a show. It's called Spectrum for Arch Enemies, and we all get different colors and then they hang it in a rainbow. So I have to do a painting in the color orange.
Oh, cool.
That's fun.
Yeah. So shocking. I'm doing a fox. Like a great orange animal.
Are you what type of reference are you do you grab a lot of reference for your animals?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Where do you
Yeah.
go for that usually? Just
Like there's Pixels, it's Pexel. They have like copyright free images that are okay to use. Like, so I try
Yeah.
to be very thoughtful about where I get my
Yeah.
images. But in general, I will have 5 to 6 images of a fox to get one fox, because I'll take like the paw from one and the ears from another, and I then kind of Frankenstein it to become my own to get it in the place that I need it to be.
I said this in class the other night. Cassandra was pointing out to the students how difficult it is to do what you do as far as your understanding of anatomy, animal anatomy, and human anatomy, and bringing the two together and make all of the, clothing, fit the body. I mean, it's a really difficult task of what you do. You do an amazing job with it.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. It's really funny to take something that serious that is also ridiculous. Like I love it that it's ridiculous. I want to make it as ridiculous as possible, but then to take it as serious as I do makes it more ridiculous.
To be serious about it.
True.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is
Like,
well put.
The hands have to be immaculate for the possum stacked on top of each other for that painting, for it to work.
so funny.
Stuff like that. So yeah.
Oh,
So
Miriam,
for
this is so cool how you're
Oh,
doing
that
this.
is so. Everybody remember that. What she's doing, because I have something I want to show you, and I'm ready to do that anytime you want.
Yeah, let's move on to the next image. And then John, I think we could totally jump into that. So everybody, please get to work on that next ref. You can do whatever you want, but if you want to work on a few, you should work on a few. You should move on, try another image, try another one. Please share your work though with us throughout the night. Don't wait till the end. Oftentimes with people who wait till the end, it just whatever the algo, it just doesn't work with the algo. So please share your work with us. It's hashtag K9Hive, hashtag Drawing Hive and @Visual Arts Passage. Posted to Instagram. We're going to share it at the end of the night. And K9 Hive, it's K and then the number 9. Just nobody spell it out, please. Probably wasn't the best choice for the tag, but it was available. So
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good
I
one.
think it's great.
All right. John, are you almost ready?
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
put my brush down. I want to do that because I've been holding my phone to look at the reference. So once I'm done with this part, I can open up my computer. So I'm excited.
No rush.
So I am ready whenever you are. Miriam, I needed a prompt. I needed Timmy to do something special for me to do these educational segments.
He
Okay.
Doesn't get old.
demanded
So you got a little music. I'm going back to my document. Oh, and just as a reminder, this is Miriam's website, Miriam Draws. It's fabulous. You can spend a lot of time there just devouring some really great work. So tonight, I'm going to do a little talk on Henry Moore. And
I knew it. I knew
and
it.
and when I have watched Miriam draw, her work reminds me of a sculptor. I mean, the way she draws reminds me, especially that drawing that she's doing right now, reminds me of how a sculptor would draw. And I chose Henry Moore because I like his sculpture. I learned about Henry Moore when I was 7 years old. And I went to a very famous illustrator's house with my father. We got out of the car and my dad told me not to climb on the sheep. And I had no idea what he was talking about. And he realized that he laughed about it. And the artist house I went to was Austin Briggs. And Austin Briggs was successful enough and a collector that he owned 2 Henry Moores. And
Oh my God.
and had them in his front yard of his home. He also owned Calders, all kinds of stuff. He was a collector. And I'll talk about him some other time. But that's the first time I came across Henry Moore. The second time this is in Kansas City. This is at the Henry Moore Sculpture Garden. It's actually, I think, the Don Hall Henry Moore Sculpture Garden at the Nelson Atkins Museum in Kansas City. And I don't know how many of them they have, close to 30. And they're spread all around the grounds. Well, I used to live across the street from the museum, and I could see this from our yard. I'd have to go. I couldn't see it from my studio. My studio was in the basement, so I couldn't see it from there. But I would walk outside, and I could see this from my yard. I thought that was really cool. And I learned more about him in school and everything. But he was a British sculptor. He was born 19. Let's get this right. 1898. I couldn't get the centuries were messing with me. So 1898, he lived to 1986. And they started putting that sculpture garden in the early 80s. And he was known as a minimalist, and he brought minimalism to the British public. His time period was he became notable after the Second World War. Just really amazing stuff, and things that he had a great facilitation. And this is actually my favorite stuff that he did. The things that were figurative, that were these really abstracted figures that weren't as abstract as what he did later on. And he did a lot of things. He became notable for doing sculptures and drawings and paintings of people sheltering in British after the Second World War. And his drawings and paintings, or mostly whatever you want to call them, his drawings, are the things I really wanted to make sure everybody saw tonight. The sculpture is stunning. And so many people, oh, that guy, they think about it. They see it, maybe they didn't know his name and they're like, oh, that guy, he's super famous, incredibly successful financially. And he started a foundation, and he put most of his money. He lived very modestly, and put all of his money into his foundation, which is still supports people to study the arts. I think I can. This is butterflies. I'm trying to remember which piece. This piece. This piece sold for $31 million in 2022,
Wow.
and just created a huge amount. Created an unbelievable career, and I love the fact that he pretty much gave most of his income away to his foundation. Lived very modestly. I love this figure. It's just beautiful.
It kind of makes me think of Edward Gorey drawings too.
Well, I after I learned more about him, I found, this is one of the things he was doing after the Second World War, or doing during the war, of people sheltering. And he wasn't sculpting at the time, he was doing this. And so
Oh, wow.
think about how Miriam was
Uh-huh.
drawing. And this is the thing that just blows me away about his work, that I absolutely love the way he draws and paints.
Well, I used to do this when I was a sculptor and I didn't have access to a studio. I would make drawings of the sculptures I wanted to make.
Well, I thought of you when I was, when I was thinking of an artist tonight, I was thinking about your work, and then thinking about his work, and and the relationship to the two. And I think there is a lot of relationship. At least I don't know where she is in her drawing, right where Miriam is in your drawing right now, the one you were working on, but the one you were doing in line, that reminds me so much of how a sculptor would draw. These things are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So powerful. And that's the last one. Anyway, I thought it would be a good one to talk about tonight. And
Perfect.
that's my short educational spot for the night.
Wow, that was great. That was really interesting. I definitely learned about something I knew nothing about. A blind spot. Miriam, can we see where you're at now? I'm dying to
Sure.
know what happened.
Sure. All right, let me share again.
Sorry for all the tedious
All good.
sharing and not sharing and sharing. Yeah, I was on Instagram. I almost got emotional. The dog art is looking great already.
Oh,
So
Oh,
here's
love that.
my strategy. So what's amazing, this is digital, and I'll show you the brush I used. I chose a brush that drives me crazy. And because tonight I'm choosing to do things that give me less control. So that, it's just my strategy. But you can see, let's see, this is a gel ink or gel pen. And like a gel pen, it sucks, which actually makes this look better. Like if I don't press hard, it comes out thick. And if I press hard, like I get like nothing. So
Wow. What you said your strategy is to like why is that your strategy?
Because I know that my weakness is over controlling. What makes my drawings bad is when I control too much. I'm not going to have fun if I do that. So
yes.
I have to work. I have to treat myself like a child. So this is the one
That's incredibly important. Just knowing strengths and weaknesses everybody deals with. It's so smart.
Mhm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Miriam.
Oh, no, that's okay. So the first one I did was basically a negative space drawing. Then that last one was like a blind contour line drawing. And here, what I'm going to try to do, just because Sammy Joe was the most sculptural of dogs, I'm going to try to do, it's probably going to be
Cassandra,
black and
did
white
you
belly.
Cassandra, did you know that Sammy Joe was sculptural?
I believe she's perfection. So yeah, I'll say she's sculptural.
She is.
And just stood up and left the room. He was just so insulted.
Hey, Sammy Joe looks that great and she's 15 and a half. I just want
Oh
to
my
point out.
gosh.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And my girls set up that photo shoot. That's why there is a bubble in it. They were trying for multiple bubbles, but they could only get one.
Well, that's when I saw this picture, I thought when I draw this, I'm going to put multiple bubbles in it.
Please, that was the intention. It just didn't happen.
It
I
comes
was-
across.
I
It's
was
only
going to send a message to the girls and say, hey, can you fix the tangent with the bubbles?
That's why I submitted some without bubbles, but their hope was for bubbles. They were happy that you picked that one.
Oh, good. I'm glad. That was a no-brainer, actually. I love that shot.
They're right here. Hey, girls, they like that you put the bubbles in it. Thank you.
Good job.
Hello.
Hi. That's great. Yeah, you can definitely tell that Sammy is Sammy Joe, sorry, is growing up in a house of children.
She is a saint, truly.
What is that garland around her neck?
So my daughters were flower girls in a wedding, and that was
Okay.
something they wore in their hair, and they use it for all kinds of things now. But they decided she needed it around her neck.
That's a good prop.
I can see Sammy Joe has been subject of all kinds of humiliation.
costuming.
Oh yeah, but she got fed cheese the whole time, so she is ecstatic. She couldn't be happier. As long as we didn't make her like stand up and do a bunch of stuff, she was fine.
I love a good
feel
dog
like-
costume.
She's dressed somewhere like she's between being a fairy and going to Margaritaville.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
she
Yeah.
definitely has like parrot head energy. You're totally right.
Right.
Mhm.
That garland.
Well, that's how I always think of Cassandra. So that's
Your dogs
parrot.
really reflect real personalities, so
Yeah, oh man, you know what? I've got a photo. So I saw Nick Vidros today. He's a photographer. Famously, he's whenever I tell people about him who don't know about him, he would be upset if I didn't say he was hired to replace Ansel Adams at Kodak.
wow.
Yeah, but Nick has a photo of a dog and its owner that he met just randomly, and I know it's on his website. I gotta find it, but I'm not gonna steal the screen because I don't want to mess it up, but I am just gonna show. Let me see if I can do this right. I gotta work on it. Anyways, I'll find it on my computer, but Nick Vidros is really great at finding like shape design in his photography. He taught me everything. I always love that. Like, did you when you all got into doing what you're doing, like there's some people, it's like the old guard that you can find who are like, they're not like in the thick of it. They're not like in the trenches and they're just at the teaching stage. And I just always feel like, those are the best people to learn from. I'm gonna
Oh,
steal a screen
yeah.
from you really briefly because I want to share this because I thought it was wild. I went to his website and the first photo up, look at the dog.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can we
But
have
I
a night
gotta-
of his
That's
work?
great.
We could, but if we had Nick on, we might get in trouble. Okay, here, this is it. Because I didn't even want to randomly go through his work. But no, look at this.
That's amazing.
Wow.
I was not expecting that dog and that man.
How great is that? Yeah.
That is beautiful.
No, it
Wow.
really is. I think this guy was a set designer that he hired for a shoot. And he saw his dog and was like, you gotta be kidding me. That's your dog? And the guy, of course the guy was like, what do you mean? Like,
You
what do
mean
you,
like it's your wife's dog or?
yeah.
Like the
No,
opening to 101 Dalmatians.
yeah. But
Yeah.
no, I learned from Nick. Nick's like his career, I mean, he's still very active, but he was like the photographer of the 90s and early aughts. Not just in Kansas City. And then, I mean, and then in his like when he was starting out, the reason, he was like the guy that got hired to, when I say, so Kodak they used to have a photographer that would test their film before it was released to the public. And Ansel Adams for years was that photographer. And when Ansel Adams wanted to retire from the position, they brought on Nick. And it's kind of a fun story. I'm trying to remember what president it was. John, you'd probably be able to guess based on his age. I don't know presidents and like years very well. But he was his first photo gig was I think it was Kansas City Star. And he was going to some like basically presidential speech in Kansas City. And he he just hopped in the presidential motorcade
What?
with the yeah, and he has all these he has this whole photo series of the president from back then. But I'm ruining the story because I don't know which president it was, and I don't want to lie.
Was it from the
He was in his 20s.
okay. It very easily could have been in his 20s. Could have been Johnson, could have been
I think
probably too early, could have been Nixon,
it wasn't Nixon. I would remember Nixon.
could have been Carter.
I think it was Carter. Sounds like Carter. I'd be so embarrassed.
They had the Republican convention in here. I was thinking that's what it might have been, but they had the Republican convention.
John, that was 100% what it was then. If it was here, yeah. I was talking with him about it today. I was like, man, that's crazy that they let you in the motorcade. But anyway, just he's a fun dude. But do you all he taught me, like, I've worked with a lot of photographers. Most of them were like I was their assistant or their gopher or whatever you call it. And they didn't really care about my development, you know? But like when I assisted him, he was like, and honestly, he could leave a lot of the people I've worked with in the dust. He was like, you're going to the school of Nick Vidros. And I was telling my brother about it. He was so intense on set in a way that was very loving. Like one time I was his digital tech for a shoot. It was for the World Series in Kansas City. We shot every single player before game 7. It was insane. And I went up to him and he goes, I need another card. And I reached in my front pocket to grab an SD card for him. Because I had this like flat pack that would fit in your pocket. And it wasn't in my front pocket. And I reached in my back pocket. It was in my back pocket. And I pulled it out and he goes, why'd you reach in your front pocket? And I go, I thought it was in my front pocket. And he goes, Timmy, if you're going to take this seriously, you need to choose a pocket.
Oh.
I thought it was so funny. He's the most OCD, but I mean, there's a reason. I mean, great photographers typically are, I think, just detail guy. But anyway, he was like, and then he would have classes. Like, he didn't call him a class, but he'd be like, you're going to come to my house on Saturday and we're going to talk about the 7 rules of light. And did you all have like I mean, John, I know you're kind of the outlier, extraordinary outlier, but Cassandra, Miriam, like, did you run into people like that during your, like, when you were coming up?
I mean, that was Illustration Academy, the people that like actually showed me how things were done.
Really
Thank you, Cassandra.
nice.
Welcome, it is true.
So the person I had like the most contact with and had the most influence on me was my sculpture professor from undergraduate. His name's Chuck Herndon, and he still does really beautiful abstract painting. He may still be doing some stone carving, but I remember what I learned from him. It's like nothing is harder than stone carving. I was working on a piece, and I said, "How long should I work on it?" And he said, 5 minutes or 15 minutes. And then I, looked at the time, worked on for 15 minutes. And as I came back, I was like, "How long should I work on it?" He's like, 15 minutes. And then I asked again, and he said 15. And I never asked again. Like it takes the time it takes. And you got to suck it up sometimes.
That's a tough deal as a sculptor. I just had a great conversation with a artist, painter, sculptor, really well-known sculptor, Western guy named George Carlson. And George, he's telling me he had to quit being a sculptor when he got into his late 60s because he just physically couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, he had
And-
several shoulder replacements. It's just hard work, and I'm glad to have done it, but I don't need to do it anymore.
It's such hard work.
Miriam, can we see where you're at again?
Sure.
Sorry, I stole the screen from you.
All good. Keeping it active and
Yeah.
interesting.
Just trying to keep you on your toes.
So I'm just doing a value drawing of Sammy Joe. Because she's such a diva. What's
Yep.
not to like here? She has so many great accessories. She's been styled beautifully. We need to put that in the credits. Styling by, right?
That's styling by Maven and Verity.
Yep.
Come on, I know E-Man did that.
Shh.
That's great.
And so, like, for anybody watching, what I'm doing is I'm just going through some basic exercises that I used to teach drawing that I went over in my drawing classes. So this is just a value drawing. Normally I would like just limit myself to 4 values, but I'm not. But you can see here in my layers, I started this drawing off with more layers. And a good question to ask yourself, I never draw with multiple layers when I am making sketches, only when I'm making final pieces. And how you know is that you will slow yourself down. So as soon as you start being, if you are being precious about a drawing in the early stages, you need to do something to loosen it up, to give yourself less control. So I'd say layers are on the control knob. And if you're having too much control, definitely too early, just flatten your work and go for it. It's going to help you out.
That's great advice. Getting too precious too early, like it just handicaps you.
Yep. Masterpiece syndrome.
I've never heard that phrase. I love that. Masterpiece syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, when you want to make it good, you want to make it good so bad.
For me, like the minute I learned to let go of my drawing and just like flap things down on top of it was when I started getting good. Like it let me trust my process versus the whole time I second guessed it before that.
So Cassandra, I remember you're doing that when I watched your demos. And that's like, I was so impressed with your confidence. And like, it's not just confidence, it's commitment. You're like, you have to have confidence in yourself and trust. And you just have to commit to the drawing because it's not going to go anywhere good if you're just too precious about it.
And then often, like it gets better when I come back to it and I've learned more of what it should be. So it's better for have messing it up.
Yep, I totally agree.
So you've pretty much gotten to work with some pretty amazing clients. Is there still like, what's on the dream list that you haven't gotten to yet?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I really feel like I'm at the beginning of my journey here. So I would love to work with Eric Skillman at Criterion. I need to send him another email.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to work with the Folio Society or someone else. It doesn't have to be Folio. It could be Chronicle Books. I want to work with, because I was a sculptor and also a graphic designer in print production, I really like beautifully produced objects. I just don't want to make them one at a time by hand. So yeah, I'd love to work with Folio or Criterion, and yeah.
Good list. I mean, I know you're 4 years in, but you've done so much already. I was curious, like what you were aiming for or hoping for still.
Yeah, well, those are definitely on the list.
That's
Yep.
good list. Good
Uh-huh.
list.
Okay, here's another one. It's very specific. I would love to do art for probably alcohol or food, but usually the alcohol, I love the design and the art on it. Especially
Yes.
like, yeah, well, especially when they go what they do with like sometimes even shapes of bottles or seeing the image through the bottle is just gorgeous. Like I love the
Mhm.
physicality of those objects.
I totally agree on that one. There's been some really cool ones too. Like was it Bill Mayer that he did a whiskey bottle that I just
Uh-huh.
couldn't get enough of.
Great alcohol bottle, great wine bottles.
Yep.
Mhm.
Victor and I have been some beautiful wine bottles recently.
John, could you, for those, who are maybe newer or whatever, could you give a briefing on Vic Down Eye? Or
She's
that's kind of on the spot, sorry.
That's okay. I'm just going to say that just an extremely good illustrator. Studied Rhode Island School of Design. Was written up in Forbes magazine of what is the best 30 under 30 or something like that. That article.
Oh yeah, it was Forbes. That was just like
Oh, excuse me.
like-
Forbes.
Wow.
that was just a general 30 under 30. It wasn't
Yeah.
like communication arts 30 under 30. It was just
Wow.
like all
Wow.
30 or 30-year-olds.
Just wildly successful.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're looking for a good illustrator to follow, she's one of them. Here's a question for you, Miriam, from Cora. What's the most helpful constructive criticism you've received in your career? And maybe you can think on that, and we can keep talking for a bit. That's a tough one.
I'll say 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
I'm joking, but I'm not joking. So what
Yeah.
I realized was that this is not super heavy, but I mean, everybody, you make art with your whole self. And so whatever baggage you have from family or whatever, you're going to bring into it. So if you were criticized a lot or you fear criticism, you can be kind of averse in, taking chances or whatever. And I thought for a long time I mistook really unkind, like feedback that is just not helpful at all. I thought it was my job to just listen to what everybody told me to do. And and I realized only later and after I've been teaching for a long time that a lot of the feedback I got had nothing to do with me. And so that's like something, if you're getting feedback and it feels like crap, it's sort of like that may not have anything to do with you. Feedback really should, it's not that it's without criticism, but it shouldn't devastate you. It shouldn't make you be like, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've received lots of bad feedback, and I'm sure, it's just like therapy. All those people had, bad experiences and learned bad models of communication and criticism that they just passed down. So
Gosh, I feel like I need to apologize to you.
This is years ago. I got a feedback like on an edit. that really upset me. And somebody sent me an interview with Bill Hader that explained it. Now, the feedback I got was from somebody who has no background
Yeah.
in what I do, you know, like they're inexperienced, but still it like still stings. Like I'm not I would say like my ego isn't so great that I would like hear somebody who I'm like, well, they don't really know any better. I can't hear that and just be like, they have no idea what they're talking about. It stings. And it's Bill Hader, and he basically was like, when you want to like punch something up, meaning like make it better, or like you're working on a script or a movie or an edit or something like that, and you show it to people who are friends or family or just people that are, you know, they're consumers. They're, you know, like like all of your art, all art is going to be consumed by people who are not professionals in the field.
Mhm.
And their opinion to a degree is legitimate. I mean, and and he basically was like, so when you hear from them, like, and they say, I don't like this, he's like, that's valid. Like, listen to that and say, okay, something might be broken here. But he goes, but immediately tell them to shut up when they tell you how to fix it.
Yep.
And I dug that because like a lot of my like a lot of the stress about it wasn't so much the oh something's wrong because I was working on it. It's not that something was wrong. It was that like their opinion on what was wrong was like one not correct, but two like very disruptive to the whole process, you know. So I don't know. I mean,
I like that.
do you all ever go to people that are like kind of outside of your world to hear what they say, or are you
Oh, yeah.
protective of that?
Timmy, I talked about that in study hall last night at length.
Really?
It's like, we're not making this for other artists as illustrators.
I know, I love that.
And so anybody with a set of eyes,
Yeah.
that trust their judgment, it's like, ask them what they think your picture means, what it's communicating, because that's who you need to be making the picture for.
Yeah.
I've gotten in some really crazy arguments with my wife over it. And
Yeah.
but that's to be expected.
No, me and Salacuse did that like short is 15-minute documentary Page the Stage. And I was like, has somebody who's not a comedian seen this yet? Like,
Uh-huh.
you know, because you're like, I hope it's not. I don't know. You're like, I think it's totally possible for any artist to get like too inside baseball, you know, on
Mhm,
something,
mhm.
and
Absolutely.
it just makes it not fun for most people.
You know, that's part of what I was talking about last night. It's like, this is what when we're discussing your work in class, the first thing is you got to know what it's made for. Is it communicating? Is it solving the problem? You know,
Yeah.
illustration and design. It's there to guide somebody. It's there to explain something. Illustration means to explain. And if it's not, you can get so close to it when you're making it that you can lose that. I always thought it
Yeah.
was best, like at the academy, when we did our critiques, we had the people that just came into town with fresh eyes,
Yeah.
critique the images, because it was really difficult after you worked with somebody for a week. You even as an instructor, you knew what they were trying to do. So the well had been tainted.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You need fresh eyes to see if it's actually doing what it's supposed to be.
Everybody, I am just gonna interrupt for a second. We are moving on to the third and final, the long pose. So please post your work to Instagram. It's hashtag K9Hive, hashtag Drawing Hive, and at Visual Arts Passage. We're gonna check it out at the end of the night. You've got about 40, a little bit, almost 40 minutes on this last one. So please post your work now, though, and we'll check it out. one other thing I want to remind everybody is that the summer semester at Visual Arts Passage is in full swing. It's very exciting. Always love it when classes just get up and rolling. But the fall semester, if you didn't make it for the summer, the fall semester enrollment opens August 9th. I know that seems far off, but it'll creep up very soon. And the reason I want to tell you about the first day of opening is because that's early bird. It's going to be 2 weeks long. We're going to get a little generous. It's going to be 2 weeks, and you save $200. So mark your calendar, August 9th. We've got some awesome guest speakers. We'll start making those announcements soon. But yeah, other than that, John, you were talking about like what does it communicate, especially at a commercial level? Like if you're a client, like I don't want this image to only communicate to the most intellectual of our customers, or
Oh yeah, I mean,
I would imagine that your
think if you're
opinion,
making, like
yeah,
video games, you're
yeah,
communicating
I would imagine,
to a different audience.
I would imagine that your opinion on this might be slightly different for like the fine arts world. Is that true, or maybe no?
No. I mean,
Yeah.
not for me personally. I
Yeah.
think like I love to have outside viewers looking at my work because they're the collectors.
Yeah.
Fine arts world, this is really interesting. I remember my dad saying this to me when he first started selling his work outside of the illustration world. And he was like, you know what? I've been called the commercial artist for the last 25 or 30 years. He goes, I have not seen anything more commercial than what exists in the gallery world. And
Yeah.
there's always jokes about, people buy paintings to match their couch or
But they do.
Yeah.
it goes in their
They
home.
really do.
Yeah.
Well, the couch was there first, guys.
Yeah.
No,
Sometimes
I
the
mean,
couch costs more than the painting.
to your point, Basquiat is the big news story like last week is an H&M line of clothing. It's terrible. It's awful.
Is it awful or is it awful? Do you think that it's awful that he has the line of clothing?
This is what I would say. I think it upsets me that it's what upsets me about it is the fact that it's like a throwaway, what do you call that? Fast fashion brand using Basquiat,
that it's not better.
That it's not better, that it's fast fashion, so it's cheap, it's manufactured poorly, and immorally, and I think it's really counter to. I don't think that he would want his estate to be part of that. I'm not trying to be like high and mighty about it. I just, as far as like the aesthetic of the clothing and stuff, or the aesthetic of how it was applied, I don't really have as much an opinion on that as much as it's just not. I think it's not an appropriate partnership. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Is that legitimate or fair to say?
Yeah, no, you're obviously allowed to. Yeah, I just think so. Here, this going back to like the criticism thing.
Yeah,
it's I think one of the best ways to get good feedback is to, you can't just say, what do you think of this illustration? You have to give them the context or the prompt for it, right?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's same as even just doing getting somebody to proof your work for you. You're not like, just proof this. You're look for this, look for that. You have to give them, like, if you give someone a job to do, then they will give you the feedback that you want. Or, here are 3 things, which one of these does X better than the other one and why?
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now you can't, all the illustration shows that you've gotten into, Miriam, or anybody that goes that route. I mean, when you judge those things, you have to read what it was made for first. And it just like when you look at any student work or people that are trying to even just ask you a question about it, what it's made for, the outcome is makes all the difference in the world. It could be the most beautiful image you've ever seen and a very ineffective illustration. Or it could be something really simplistic that's a great idea that communicates really well and be a very effective illustration. So knowing the parameters of the assignment is a necessity.
Yeah, you know, I guess one of the things I was thinking about was maybe the most obvious like counter to what, you know, the message here is that like there are these artists from history that were before their time or were just deeply misunderstood or maybe like marginalized in a way that like their art was not appreciated during their time. And you could say like, well, you know, they had the vision before everybody else and people just realized it after they were gone. And there's like, well, that is, I mean, that's definitely true, right? But they also died like with their artwork, like not, you know, it's like they paid a cost. There's a cost that came with that. That was pretty painful, which is like, you know, living a like impoverished life and not thriving maybe like in an industry. Does that,
Yeah,
did I make sense or does that, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I come from a fine arts background and I have
Yeah.
plenty of bad things to say about it. Even though I feel like it's my foundation.
Say them
It's a
all.
solid foundation, but I think that and you know, trends change too. But I can definitely say that I had to unlearn a romanticization of suffering. Like,
Yes.
you know, like hurting yourself, killing yourself to do work is not sustainable. It doesn't make you a better artist. Taking care of yourself, making sure you go to the gym and have friends in addition to working on your work. Like I did not get good messages or models about, you know, and it's in art historically that again, like people who make really bad life choices are definitely held up as models. And I would always say they are successful in spite of their vices, not because
Yeah.
of.
Yes.
But I think those things often get like aligned and it's just, you know, it's a bummer.
Oh, I went to an English, like I went to an English writing program that was, you know, uh a pretty competitive like English lit school. And like I think back about how many of my teachers just like clearly had drinking problems at the time. And it's like not, and it was all, yeah, it was this romanticization of this era of like writers. And you're like, it didn't help anybody.
Yeah, you need help.
It's like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I should be careful about that because, but I don't know. I think about it often. You mentioned that the danger of that romanticization is like, it's a major distraction from just
Yeah.
like, what is this actually? It's good picture making, not all the baggage that comes with all of the people that have, yeah, succeeded in spite of their vices. I
Yeah.
love that. That's so interesting. Yeah.
So here is another one. I haven't told this story. I don't know if I've ever shared this one publicly. I was at the Vermont Studio Center, which I'm grateful to go. It's a great place. I've done a couple artist residencies there when I was a sculptor, but we would have visiting artist critiques. And I had critiques from like fancy people at Yale and Berkeley. And I remember somebody saw my work. So when I was there one time, I was doing mostly drawings. It was personal narrative work, right? And I could tell that they didn't like it. I forget what they said. They said something negative about it, but it was really a non-statement. I says, I hear that you don't like this. Can you tell me more specifically? And they said, it looks like you could get paid for that. And I was like, that doesn't sound so bad to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would set me on fire if somebody said that.
I would just say thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
Wow.
okay with that.
Yeah, I would be very good with that. So, but that was probably one step closer to illustration for me, which I feel like is a great thing. So no regrets.
I had a
My favorite,
oh, go ahead, Sandra.
Oh, I got into a museum show one time and I met the curator and she asked which piece was mine and I pointed it out and told her and she goes, "Oh, there seem to be some people that like it." And I started laughing so hard and I was just like, "Isn't that great? You know, there's art for everybody." And then I just thanked her. Like that was the best she could do with a compliment because like I appreciated that she didn't try to lie and say she liked it. She definitely did not like it. But that was my favorite non-compliment I have gotten.
Well, I feel like there's this danger of becoming an expert where you believe you're right. And you can be
Mhm.
really informed, but I really do. So I'll say something. I had a painting teacher, Nathaniel Larrabee, and he said, every artist has the right and privilege to make mistakes. And I just, I somehow piggybacking off of that, I'm like, everybody has the right to like whatever they like. There is like, you're
Exactly.
not the aesthetics police. Like, that's so snobby.
But yeah, so I just think I think when you let go of trying to make please everybody with your work too, I feel like it opens it up to more people in many ways.
Yeah.
Sorry, John, I'd interrupted you. What were you going to say?
Oh, nothing. I decided it's better that I don't say it.
Is it something where you'd say it and I'd be like, clip it. We're making a reel.
Like it's in the vault.
I did have a very funny experience my first semester at the University of Kansas. Because I was really interested in learning to paint. And I took a painting class from a guy that I still remember his name. I'm not going to bring it up. But my dad had gotten the Hallmark to donate. He had picked their artist in residence for the Hallmark chair for the school. And he chose an illustrator by the name of John Collier. And this all was happening at the same time. I just started school there. He did that. And then they asked my father to come up and speak at the school. And the first semester I was there. And so I sat there, I watched my dad give a presentation of his artwork to the painting department and the illustration department. And it was a huge number of people. And everybody in the arts program went to it. And the next week in painting class, the instructor gives a critique of it. And I'm pretty sure he knew who I was. There was a relationship that was my father. But he said the most awful things about my father because of his success.
Oh my God.
And I had to sit and listen to it. And it bothered it. I mean, it's still to this day, it bothers me. It bothered me so badly. And I was thinking, there's a person he's never done anything. As far as I can tell, it's like he didn't do anything. And my father took the risk to do a lot of things, to try all kinds of things. And he just happened to be good at it and successful at it.
People hate success.
But man, he kind of closed his summation was, I can't buy into an artist that's his work. His work is probably sells for more than I get paid for my salary here each year.
That's jealousy.
I would
be like, hell yeah. Yeah. My mom went to the Colorado Institute of Art in the 70s, like I think 1975. And it was a really small school at the time. I think there were like 15 students in her class. And their first day of class, she tells the story all the time because she really loves the reason she has told me this story so many times because she really loves what we are doing at Visual Arts Passage. Is she said that she went in, and this is way before its time. The teacher said, raise your hand if you have no interest in making money as an artist. You just want to make art and you don't care about money at all. And, like maybe one or two kids raised their hands. And the teacher just said, get out of here. This is not the school for you. we are not going to take your money and just give you a skill set that doesn't create a sustainable, healthy life, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, which
lecture
mid 70s. I mean, that's
Wow.
that's ahead of its time, mid 70s. I mean,
So this is mid 70s also, or I guess late 70s. And that whole kind of ties into exactly what you were saying. I had told my father that I was interested in being an artist, and I'd been around so many artists at that time, and he wasn't convinced I really understood what it was to be an artist, to the commitment it was going to take. And he kind of gave me this, you get the sex talk, I got the art talk. And never gave me a sex talk. He gave me the art talk, and he said it started with, this, I know you've heard this, starving artist thing. He goes, well, I don't believe in that bullshit. And so he explained it really beautifully. He said, I never felt like, he goes, if I didn't have money, if I was broke and I was trying to be an artist, I would be worried about being broke and not making art. He said, and he really did. He surrounded himself, and I think we all do. We try to surround ourselves with people that we think are serious as artists. They're doing it for the right reason. They want to be better. But we all think about our livelihood also. And I think it's a really healthy attitude. I mean, just practicality. If I couldn't make a living with my art, I would have to do something else and make art part-time. And so making art full-time and being able to focus on that is a really big deal about being an artist. And and you can augment it, with teaching, you can augment it. But I've always said this, being obviously having a lot of interest in the educational aspect of artists, the act of making art for a living is a completely different thing than teaching art.
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different thing. You have to think about so many other things that you don't think about. And that's why I always like to have people that teach part-time and make art full-time. Or people that have taught, or that have been very successful in their careers previously. So anyway, I'm rambling.
No, that was a good ramble.
no, it's great.
There's
I
like
mean,
a quote. I wish I could remember it exactly. There's a quote by Freud, and it talks about the problems. It's talking about parents and children, but I always feel like, your teachers are your parents of a sort. I feel like they're your like soul parents. They're not the people who gives you DNA, but they nurture the parts of you that usually your family doesn't understand. And what Cassandra was talking about, it's like jealousy is a real thing. Like when people don't do what they want to do. So I think the quote was something like, just talked about the damage of what it called the unlived life of the parent. And so like if you have teachers who just never went out there and did it, and aren't happy with that, it's like I think we've all experienced what that creates.
yeah. I have a kid who's become a good friend of mine. He's 23 years old, so much younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
And his name is Dayton Bissett. He's an amazing comedian. And he's like a rising star. So he's ending up on these big shows. He's definitely, he's gonna have it. It's pretty much in cement unless he does something terrible. Which comedians often do. He he's gonna have a great career. And we talked about it a while ago. He had this opportunity out of the blue, got asked to a table read for like a major movie.
Oh, cool.
And huge director. I'm just gonna say Dayton. I'm not gonna name any names, but big director goes to the table read. A lot of famous people are there. He gets the script and he is the lead in it. And yeah, it's like he's doing everything he can not to cry, like at in this famous person's apartment, right? And he says he goes to the bathroom to like tear up, right? And then comes out, does a table read, and he, you know, calls a friend of his who is also a comedian but older, in his 30s, about my age, and tells him the whole story. And this guy's like, you can't do that. That guy is he's not funny. And he's only, look at his last X number of movies. They're all garbage. And like, God, dude, don't
Oh,
do that. Don't do that. And gave him like 10 different reasons why it was stupid. He was considering it. And then he called me, and I immediately was like, dude, you need to stop talking to people who do what you do, who are like 10 years older than you. Because
Uh-huh.
they're gonna be furious to hear from this 23-year-old who's like, yeah, they just called me. And it's, I don't know, if any young artist is there, it's like you do kind of have to be careful about who you share with, not share with, but like who you find like solace in, or like that you like find some good cheerleaders, I guess.
mm,
I don't know. I think about that all the time with like mentors and the people that impact how you feel, you know, on a daily basis. But yeah, he called me and I was like, don't be a fool. I was like, you're I mean, talk about a career that is wildly difficult to thrive at.
Right.
Yeah.
so is the movie stuff still happening? Like, I mean, I know all of that.
That
It
stuff
moves.
moves so slowly,
It's like
and
incredibly
it's,
slow.
yeah, it's tricky. I was a balancing act with my advice for him, because I also had to tell him, like, because I've had this happen to me, not obviously like in editing, is you're gonna hear about these amazing opportunities and you're gonna get so hyped up and then they'll just disappear.
Hmm.
They're gonna, I don't know how many times somebody has told me like, yeah, Netflix is gonna buy it. And then like you're like 6 months later, you're like, what happened to Netflix? And they're like, oh, now it's Tubi. And like, you're like, oh, okay. Or you're like, or it's some streaming platform you've never heard of, and then
Right.
eventually they're like, we're gonna put it up on YouTube. you know but yeah, so I try to like temper that, but I don't know, he's very sweet, so I took it I was like a mother hen when I heard that this
Good. Well,
person gave him bad
he needed
advice.
one.
Yeah, I know.
So I have a plug for jealousy. I actually like jealousy a lot, because when you recognize that you're jealous, you can use it. I feel like jealousy lets me know, the few times that I've been jealous, it lets me know that that's really what I want to be doing.
Really?
That's also really, I like that.
Yeah. So I
I
remember
think
I was
it's
in
it
art
Yeah.
school. Go ahead, Timmy.
Oh, no, I was just gonna, it's just a throwaway comment. I was just gonna say, it's cool to just say, like, not to say, ooh, that's a bad feeling, but just say that's a feeling.
Yeah, what does
It's
that
a
tell you?
natural feeling.
Yeah. It's easy to just say, ooh, that feeling is evil.
Or
Uh-huh.
you get mad at yourself for
Right.
being jealous.
Yeah. But Miriam, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I remember when I went to art school, and I was a fine artist, and the thing that you should never do, never be cliche, never use like direct symbolism, never do, there were a lot of, for a place that sort of is about all freedom and expression, there were a lot of rules that you were kind of learning. And I remember seeing Jim Dine's work, and he did all these hearts. I'm like, what the hell? What a loser. He's making all these hearts. And I was like, wait a minute. I want to make some hearts. And ever since then, I used to carve hearts, both anatomical hearts and regular hearts. I still draw lettering in the shape of hearts to this day. I love that shape.
That's so
So
funny.
thanks, Jim Dine.
Yeah.
Did a lot of robes too.
And hammers and yeah, just, I call it like Ode to Common Things, which is a series of Pablo Neruda poems also.
I might just be uncultured, but I don't know anything about Pablo Neruda.
Oh, he's a poet.
Mhm.
And
This is because I had a TV when I grew up, for
uh-huh.
sure.
I did not learn about Pablo Neruda when I was 12.
No, I
So
know,
you're safe.
but I probably could have, Miriam. Yeah. Okay, wow, cool. Somebody asked earlier, they said, any advice on constructing an animal's face?
That'd be a Cassandra question.
I mean, do you approach it just as a human's face?
I do. I really do. I look at it as shapes. And I look for the dark light pattern. Like Miriam has done an amazing job here. I loved how quickly the silhouette of Finn went in. And so she saw the silhouette first as a shape, and then she looked for the dark and the light. And I think that that was really, really well done and a great example of just how to quickly identify features. In mine, it was the same thing. Like I looked at it like it was a structure, like the foreheads of the dogs, they're all lighter because that's where the light's hitting it first, and the bridges of their nose. So those were light shapes. So that's a like a trapezoid, and that's a long rectangle. And then I see dark circles for the eyes. And then I'm looking at the like a square trapezoid like shape of the noses. That's two parts where the light hits and then the shadow. So when I think about it that way, it gives me a lot of room and freedom to not stress about the perfect features. It's just looking at the shapes. Like that's like a perfect trapezoid right there. And there's another one right there. And then this is a long rectangle. And so when I'm able to, and I saw this shape, that's a bit of a, like a trapezoid too. So when I see these shapes and I think about it that way, it takes the pressure off of the perfection of the features and just identifying what it is and breaking it in dark and light and mid-tone. And I don't know, it feels so much more approachable and it's less pressure for me. And it's not perfect, but I also think it's, sorry, I'm trying to get the glare off. But it gave me a lot more freedom to mess up and correct and continue to find it as I move along. So I don't know, that's how I think about it.
Good way to think about it. Say this all the time in class, that the best quote I heard of an artist that helped me the most was the illustrator Gary Kelly. And he was walking around the room one day and he just made an observation to all the students in the room. He goes, you know, basically what you have to think about, a picture is a collection of shapes and you just got to learn how to control the shapes on the picture plane. I was like, why didn't somebody say that, articulate it that way to me earlier?
Yeah.
Or why
It
was I
takes
not?
off so much pressure when you think about it that way.
Yeah. Why was I not? Why was I so dumb? I didn't figure that out earlier. Yeah.
So I can give a little bit, I can, let me go back to share. I can add on, I can piggyback on to Cassandra's comments with a sculptural perspective. So, first of all, this goes to, you need good reference material, or if you're working from life, you need, in either case, you need really good lighting. And this photograph actually has terrific lighting. One of the things I'm in love with, like this shadow on the ear, and, you know, light informs volume. So as with anything, like I think a face is not, it's not different than how I draw anything else. I draw general to specific. So like Cassandra said, start with a silhouette, then identify the general light to dark patterns, which are so much easier to do when the lighting is strong. What I love about this side lighting coming in addition to this cast shadow on the neck, you can see these planes on the face. This is facing the light. In fact, I'll try to draw some of these in another layer right now. They're not going to be perfect, but here's some planes on the face. So we have, obviously, this is a plane and it's facing the light. This is facing the light. This is facing away from the light. You can see that because it gets darker, right? And then here we go again, we're facing the light. And then we maybe have a couple, like, you know, depending on how many planes we want to give it. So this is understanding. So it's taking what Cassandra said, but it's actually helps. The more you draw from life, the more you'll understand the principle of why the light and shade changes, is because the way light hits planes will change the shading. So ultimately, it'll help you understand volume better. So, but yeah, like even a great way to work with planes is even just to break it up into two, right? So I can even understand this leg as though it's like made of a box. In fact, I'm going to simplify down here even more. I'm going to soften this. And just do like a planar drawing over this. So you can really see right now, and it's not, so how do you do this? You have to start with the low hanging fruit, right? I can see, you know, I work with what's easy first. Then I can see that there's some planes here. I'm not sure how everything attaches, and that's okay. And of course, like within the ear, there's some very, very complex planes. Always start general to specific. So just a second. I accidentally, those of you who draw digitally, I did that thing where I drew in my wrong layer, so I got to start over again. That's what it's so funny. It's like the soundtrack to the digital artist. You'll be like, oh, damn it. And you're like, yep. What happened? Did you draw in the wrong layer, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so you can see I'm just doing a very general and not perfect planar analysis of this, but I'm going to start just painting in what I call the away facing planes. And you're going to see that it creates a pretty strong statement of volume.
Wow.
But all of this, the hardest thing is that it's like you have to get your brain to forget that you know what these objects are in life, because you don't, until you draw them a lot, you don't. So it's like, here's what I'd say. In order to taste wine, you just need to be able to put it in your mouth. In order to be able to make wine, you need to know a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're drawing the picture, like you need to be able to see things from an abstract point of view. So I hope that's helpful.
That's an amazing analogy.
That was fantastic.
Thank you, friends.
Ben's is smiling. He's watching your demo
Oh,
and he's thinking the perfect model. Obviously,
I'm a good boy.
yeah.
Hey, we're getting close to the end of the night. I would say we're gonna probably head over to Instagram in about 5-6 minutes. So please start posting your work using the hashtag K9Hive at Visual Arts Passage and hashtag Drawing Hive. Start posting now, especially if you're a little bit slow with tech. Start doing it now. Don't wait. We're gonna be over there in about 5 minutes. Wow. I'm looking at some artwork in Discord. It's awesome. So have you all, Miriam, have you always had, is it correct to say, are those just wiener dogs? What are those?
Dachshunds, but I'm fine
Dachshunds?
with wiener dogs.
Is wiener dog the layman's? Is that the
Wiener dog is one, like all good things they have. Everybody who has a dog knows they have about 20 names at least. You know,
Okay.
wiener dog, doxy, teckle,
Is wiener
His
dog like
dog.
is that like an insult to a dachshund?
Not if you give him a hamburger.
No. Okay. There we go. Nice. Have you always had dachshunds?
Yes.
Really?
Well,
Did you
always,
grow up
as
with
long as
dogs?
I've had dogs. What's up?
Did you grow up with dogs?
Did not.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you get your first dog? How old were you?
Was it 20? I was in my early 30s, I think.
Okay.
Oh, see, I think I really like, do you see how simple this is?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And even this, like you can just see sometimes when you do too much, you're like, do I really need it? So probably what would be good with this one is duplicate. And then I'll just take this alpha lock and I'll put just a solid color in there. And there's a doggo.
Oh, wow. So simple.
Actually, I think I'm going to go with a little bit lighter. There, that's better. It just goes, since we can still see the shadow, I like that better. Yeah. All right, I'll stop sharing now.
That's amazing.
Oh, John, that's gorgeous. Kind of had my head down. I didn't really get to see what others did.
It's really great. Some cool stuff.
See, so John, I feel like the palette knife is what I refer to as the having less control strategy. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
because it lets the material do some of the talking. It's like you don't have a stranglehold on everything that happens in the work.
That's why I like starting with it.
I
Sometimes
love that blue. Sorry, John.
Oh, I have nothing else to say.
I was gonna say I love the blue you used there.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't gonna start painting because I know once I start, I won't stop, and it's whatever time it is.
You get in the zone. It's hard.
Yeah. But I probably get something started, let it dry. But every time I start a painting, it's like I try to get a bunch of energy in the mark making. Then I let that be the first part of the painting, and then I can let it dry or oil it up again. But you cannot replace that original energy. I can't anyway. I mean, you can do, there's tricks. I mean, you can add, you can re-oil something and then, paint back into it. But if you want to hang on to like what you started, that excitement, it's really hard to replace what happens right at the beginning. Attitude, edges, mark making, all of that. I mean,
Well, it's kind of like we talked about with the masterpiece syndrome. I feel like the reality is like if you approach a work with too much caution at the beginning, what's funny is it's a paradox. Like you're trying to make sure that you don't fail, but you actually ensure your failure. Because if you start fresh, you actually have the possibility of making something great. You might fail or you might not, but if you start tight, it's just, I've never had one work.
it's interesting though. It's like I've been going through this battle. Sometimes, I'll just draw and kind of push the drawing all over the place with whatever materials I'm using. When I draw in pastel, I start with just flat shape. Recently, I like at times, and I like this. I did a fairly careful drawing underneath this thing in pencil, and it's like as a roadmap. And it will eventually it'll obviously get lost, but I don't know, just when you're moving quickly, there's a confidence thing knowing that I analyzed it, that drawing's there. Don't always do it, but sometimes like it's watching Cassandra just blocks in and then goes, but I don't have the confidence completely to, try to get what I want, I guess. I have an easier time analyzing it with the drawing first and then painting back over it.
My problem is when I used to start out with a really tight drawing, and then I would just desperately try to hold on to the drawing, even though I never wanted it to be just a drawing. So I had to stop. I realized I had to get away from that drawing because that drawing was setting me up to fail. And so once I stopped and like trusted my process, then things moved along so much better.
So it's like,
That's-
I've been exploring recently of doing, just trying both, go back and forth and see which has a better outcome.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing, it's so personal. It's not like one is right and one is wrong. It's just like what works for you to get you to your endpoint.
Yeah.
Okay, we're heading over to Instagram. I had a false start with it earlier, but it's
Every
happening.
time I'm about to put my paintbrush in the water because I see it, and then
I know.
So, Miriam, this is a really interesting part of what we do.
All right.
We're about to look at what everybody, the people that have
That's
joined
so
us
exciting.
posted.
All right.
my favorite part.
Process because yeah. Great.
Let's do it.
Oh man,
Oh, that turned out so great, Jessica.
nice.
It's so awesome.
Charlotta, love.
Oh, this is
Oh.
great.
Oh,
I'm going to get teary-eyed. Some of these.
Oh.
Awesome.
oh,
They
that's
captured the
lovely.
squinties on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so great.
this is great. Awesome
Very
stuff.
nice.
Wonderful. Beautiful.
I was
like
excited about this one.
proud.
Oh my gosh. Adam, what are you? Were you just stuck at the
Hey,
train
Adam.
the
Yeah,
whole
Adam,
time?
you gotta join next time.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's
Awesome stuff.
lovely.
Man.
Nice.
Sammy Joe.
Oh, wonderful.
Whoa.
Beautiful, Rebecca.
Stunning stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
I love it. He did hula good.
Oh, Terry, that's awesome.
Oh, so fun.
Oh,
Sally.
that's awesome.
I love it.
Dang, you got
that's
his
nice.
expression perfectly.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Way to go, Sally.
Nice work, Chad.
Also got the expression.
That's amazing.
Oh my god.
Chad, you should look at the art of Zach Rock.
Zach Rock.
Zach Rock.
All right.
That's also
I know
animal
Zach Rock.
and the way, yeah.
Yeah.
He was a student with us
That's how I know that name. Yeah.
a couple semesters ago.
So good.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. Look at that.
Wow. They look so great together.
They
They
do.
do.
The extra bubbles. Oh.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Oh my God.
Beautiful. You did a beautiful job. And you
It's
added
so
extra
sweet.
bubbles.
You got to add the extra bubbles.
I like the personality in this.
Oh, wow.
Look at that guy.
Beautiful.
Killed
Look at
it.
that nose. That's a great nose. It's very believable.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
Harry, you got a lot done.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. Fun
Nice.
stuff.
Here comes the Sammy Joe. What do you think of that? You look
Oh.
good.
Is Sammy Joe's observing. Oh, that's awesome. That's so funny.
Oh, that's so great.
Just like he
That
could be in the
nose.
Isle of the Dogs.
Yeah, oh,
Yes.
Dead on.
Totally.
That is a Wes Anderson hula for sure. Oh,
Oh,
nice. Wow, that is like a
AJ, that's so cool.
That's
really
killer.
sensitive. I love that. Oh no.
that's funny.
Oh,
Nice,
that's
Andy.
great. Oh, Peter, that's amazing.
Of course, Peter went with the big ears.
Uh,
Good stuff.
That's
Nice.
lovely.
Awesome. Love
Peter
it.
never
Oh,
exaggerates
Love
anything.
that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So good.
You Yeah, if you got
Ooh,
big ears,
Nicole, that's
Love it.
awesome.
if you've got big ears,
Nice,
you got to be
Nicole.
careful around Peter.
And that's
Nice stuff.
fabulous.
That's a great drawing. Good structure.
But we used to always joke about with
Ooh,
Christine. It's like
I like that one.
You like
Yeah.
that one?
whatever feature that is most prominent you have, Chris is going to point it out.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
Oh, that's so good.
Cool.
Wow.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
so nice.
Nice.
Love
Whoa.
I
that.
don't know.
That's awesome. I'm giving it.
sorry. My daughter's
I-
here too.
I'm giving my official.
AJ needs to do a Cujo cover.
Yeah, he could. You know what?
Totally.
That John, we'll save that for an Echo night. Yeah.
Oh,
wow,
great
that's awesome,
job.
Felicity.
Wow,
Whoa.
Felicity.
Wow.
That's Miss Rebecca's daughter.
I think she was watching the demo that
Oh, I like that one.
Fun.
Yeah, it's so cute.
That's great. It looks like a Furby.
Oh,
Nice
oh
stuff.
fun.
Oh my gosh, a lot of people drew tonight. This is great.
Huh?
so good.
Oh, I like that.
Yay.
Awesome stuff. Hilarious.
Oh,
Oh, look at that
That's
dog
so
on
much
there.
fun.
They look, you got captured perfectly, Pete. Thanks.
Killed that.
Wow,
one.
that's
my
fun.
gosh.
Isn't it
That's a
good?
really
Wow,
fun one.
gorgeous.
There's
Oh, I
everything.
love that.
That's
You're
beautiful.
great.
Oh, I like yours, Mama.
Oh,
Eric, that's
Oh,
awesome.
wow, look at that one.
That's beautiful.
Cassandra, you're raising your daughters. They have your energy of like, whoa. I love it.
You know, they're excited about tonight's theme.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
it's
So
because
what-
it's the
I like
best
that one.
theme.
yeah,
Both
that's
of them.
great.
And we're on summer hours right now.
Oh,
Awesome.
nice.
Summer
Oh.
hours.
Good color.
Killer stuff tonight,
Uncomfortable.
people.
Very nice. I love the
Oh, what do
frame.
you call the bubble?
There- No, lots of people
Oh,
done
yay,
the
bubbles. I haven't seen a bubble so far. Like,
Oh,
look at
no.
that one.
There was some criticism.
Oh,
of
bubble,
that.
yay. Bubble.
More bubbles, people.
Oh, I
Oh,
love
nice.
that.
That's
Love,
awesome.
love
Ooh,
that.
It kind of looks like Mama. Oh.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
Three bubbles instead. I love that one.
oh, that's great, Nicole. That turned out really well.
Amazing.
Found one with two bubbles,
Uh-huh.
but it worked.
Good stuff. Oh wow. That's
Oh, that's
awesome.
beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Oh, I love
That
that.
looked like a Henry Moore.
Oh,
I want to
Henry Moore, yeah.
That looked like a
You know
Moore
what? I
drawing.
think it looks more like Kathy Kollwitz.
that's so good.
Okay, well, I haven't introduced her yet in here, so
Okay.
hold on. Everybody remember that name because it's a great one.
That's great. I love
That's so good.
that.
A
It's gonna be
graduate.
Hashtag
so smart.
world's smartest dog.
Yes, he's a dog
That's
genius.
they use that hashtag.
Oh,
That's
Beautiful. Look at
Wow.
Look at that.
Yes.
Ooh, that's
Very
nice.
designery.
Awesome.
Nice.
Oh, I love that,
Oh,
Joanna.
that turned out so good.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Wow.
this one. That's a nice
I
one.
love this stuff. Oh man, this is very
Uh-huh.
special.
Sister, you're missing everything.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
great.
Oh,
Oh, and we're going into these little sausage dogs. We're going into the wing.
Oh man, those are so great.
oh, that's true. That's so good. Oh, what did they do words in the shadows?
Release the hounds.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's great.
Nice energy.
Oh, Gary, that's
Oh, awesome.
beautiful.
Killer, Gary.
That
Whoa,
head.
Pete.
Wow.
Nice, Pete.
Oh, that's
Oh man, I love these. That's awesome.
Uh-huh.
That's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah. Cassandra, you and your daughters are in sync.
Ooh.
You almost harmonized on that one.
My genetics have
I'm
passed
gonna look
on.
at that one.
Yeah, I
I know.
know. Wow, this is some awesome
Sammy Joe.
stuff.
Yeah, Sammy Joe.
Sammy Joe.
Nice.
Oh,
Joe.
Julian, that's beautiful.
Wow.
Wait, it really is, Julian. I love these.
Nice.
Oh, Alexandra.
Oh,
Wow. Oh, that's
I
awesome.
love it.
I
Wow.
love
That was
that one.
Yeah.
That's stunning.
I like that.
Oh my
look at
gosh.
that.
It's a little comic book. Oh, look at Sam. I wanna read it.
We can read it
yeah,
later.
I
Oh.
want to read it.
What are
Oh,
we-
that's so
Oh,
good.
so the-
I want to read it.
Oh, that's
Nice.
awesome.
Hola.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Hola.
This is great. This is one of my favorite nights. I might be biased though.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's a nice drawing.
It really is.
I like.
Nice.
Oh, I like that one.
I think your daughters are a little biased.
Do you think they're partial to Sammy Joe?
Maybe.
What does that mean?
It means
It's-
that you prefer all the drawings of
Looking
Sammy Joe
thin.
over all the others.
Oh, look at that one.
Yes,
Is
Mr. Jones.
Sammy's like the house celebrity.
Yeah.
I love it. That's our last one for the night. That was awesome, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody who tuned in and drew with us and posted their work. We're going to share it all. Obviously. Oh my gosh, Miriam, it was amazing having you here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miriam. So great to finally get to chat with you.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I hope you enjoyed yourself, Miriam.
I did.
We thoroughly enjoyed having you here.
Hard not
Thank
to.
you.
Yeah.
Hanging
was
out
the
with the
best.
best people, drawing the best
Timmy,
things.
Cassandra, thanks so much. Adam in the background, thank you.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Oh, what
Ready-
was Miriam doing? Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the little dog in paradise.
Which one is that dog?
Which one is this?
This is Henry.
Hey, Henry. Oh,
He's named
Henry's
after
famous now.
Matisse.
Henry's
Henry
got better
Matisse.
hair than me.
Love it.
It's unfair. His hair is so fabulous.
It's immaculate.
Oh my gosh, this is the best. Let me get a screenshot and then we can go. All right, everybody. Have a great night.
Hey, see
Have
you,
a great
everybody. Thank
night.
you.
Bye.